So you got the recording going. Okay, so welcome everybody to our first of the spring, we'll call them webinars by Davis Advanced Health System. And I like that better, enlightening talks. Tonight's episode is on natural force healing, and which is something that I love to talk about and explain because it is a core foundational piece of the puzzle in the Davis Advanced Health system of what it is that we do in the office. And also not only that, but a lot of the material in the book that we wrote back in 2000 and I don't even remember, 11 or 12, called Climbing Mountains, is really kind of tied to the natural force healing system as it relates to the self-healing techniques that are part of that particular book that we do teach and have shown patients in the NFH work. Primarily, as we get in and get you to really understand the depth of what the work is about, there's an element of natural force healing that was really created or made for me. And I'll explain what I mean by that. See, remember that I worked in Ridgewood, New Jersey for 37 years before coming to Montclair. And in those days, Lisa Davis worked with me in the office for all those years and has her abilities and gifts developed. And she learned not only chiropractic techniques and whatever, as her gifts became more apparent, there was an element of what we did together from a totality perspective where I didn't really have to think so much about what I was doing, other than what I was delivering and my ability to use energy and all the other techniques and procedures in which I did. Lisa's ability and gifts to be able to receive information about what was going on with the patient freed me in the sense of that wasn't really my role in the process of taking care of the patient. It was more hers. But when she was getting close to having my son, Austin, she left the office and had to go have a baby. So when that process took place, I freaked out. Like, what do I do now? Because I don't have that information channel in a sense. So elements of the work were created because also in those days, we saw a lot. We were seeing 35, 40, 45 people a day. The two of us just, and doing the work that you see us do. So a system had to be developed, you could say in a sense, to be able to allow me to move fast enough to be able to incorporate everything that we were doing, but a way in which I could know what was going on with the patient very rapidly. And so there's an element of natural force healing in its development that had to do with that. I'm going to try and give you also, I don't want to spend a lot of time, but I'd like to how it unfolded. Also, the work, primarily the basis of natural force healing, was developed about in 1991. So we've been doing it and teaching it all, not only utilizing it in the practice, but also teaching it to hundreds of people all over, not only in the United States, but also in other countries in the world. Whether or not they're still doing it is another story. But it was my commitment to be able to expose the work to as many people as I could. Also, at that point, I found, because people at this point consider me, I guess you could say, a leader in my profession, is that there was a period of time back in the early 90s where I felt that chiropractors just did not want to learn information anymore. And I actually stayed away from them. I didn't want to teach them anymore because they were closed-minded. So I found that the average lay person, the corporate executive, the housewife, the people wanted to learn a system or things that they could do to help them grow and evolve, and not just, although being a mom is probably one of the most important jobs that there is on earth. So I opened up the door to really teach the work more to lay people and to my patients, that they could implement on themselves through the self-healing techniques, and also other practitioners apart from chiropractic, um, such as massage therapists and acupuncturists. And actually, there was a lot of medical doctors that took the work, and of course, chiropractors and so forth. And that's what we were exposing the work to. So, how it came to be, first of all, natural force healing was that there was this technique and a system utilized in our profession called, which is still being used today, called network chiropractic. And network chiropractic was developed by a chiropractor who I know very well named Donald Epstein. And back in 1991, this technique was, a lot of people were utilizing it, and so there was these supposed reports from patients that were having it done to them, that were having these major emotional releases and changes in themselves, where by very light contacts on parts of their spine, they would go into all kinds of yogic postures that they never did before, and they would start crying on the table and flailing and all of these reactions that people were having. So, being the inquisitive me that I was, or am, several of close friends of mine that I went to chiropractic school were doing this technique. So I went to their offices to watch what was taking place, and I saw some of the things, but I wasn't really that impressed. And until one day I decided that I was going to go take Epstein's seminar and really see what was going on with all this, I won't call it hype, but I guess in a way, of all the things that people were reporting were taking place by this technique that was being utilized. So I did. And I went. I remember he taught it on a Friday. He would teach the philosophy of it, and then over the weekend, he would begin to teach the varying procedures and techniques of it. And there was a lot of his instructors who had followed his work that were at this seminar, and they were treating patients. Like there was like 30 tables lined up in this big convention hall, and people would lay down and they would get a treatment, and they touch certain parts of their lower spine and their pelvis, and people would have these reactions. But it almost appeared to me that there was a feeling that I had that it was kind of like the 100th monkey theory, that everybody that was having the treatment done on them, like if you didn't have these unusual reactions, then you weren't doing something right. So I stayed for the weekend, and I went back and home, and Lisa asked me, so what did you think? I said, well, I saw supposedly what was taking place, but it just seemed to me that in what we've been doing with our teacher, Dr. Reese, and what the vibrational work we were utilizing called harmonics, up until that point, was a lot more powerful than what I was observing. So with that being said, natural force healing was birthed. And Lisa then proceeded to receive information and told me that she wanted me to do this specific procedure on every patient on Monday morning. And that also, she explained that when people were having these flailing reactions, the energy wasn't being circulated back into their body. So they'd have this reaction, there was no energy left. And it was like a waste of time. So this procedure was birthed, or natural force healing was birthed right there. And she told me that this is what she wanted me to do back in the office on Monday. And she explained to me where I was going to hold my hands and what the energy was that was going to be utilized. And I began to do that. And that's what we call, or that was the beginning of the development of the work. And that's called level 1. So I'm going to come back to that. Natural force healing is a transformation of consciousness in a human being. So what it does is it transforms a human being through the levels of energies that I'll talk about that do a specific thing on all levels of a human being, physically, mentally, and spiritually. So the definition, which I still remember from 1992, of natural force healing is this. Natural force healing unlocks an individual's ability to connect to 12 different channels of positive, universal flow energies, opening the door to major levels of healing and transformation on a physical, mental, and spiritual level. That's really what the work does. So in the core component of natural force healing, there are 12 positive, universal force energies. So when that first amount of information was given that day, and I went back into the office and I started to do this technique, the first level of the work, there are 12 primary levels of natural force healing. Some of the levels have 2 component parts to them. So for example, when we do what we call level 2, which I'll explain each level as, over the hour, level 2 has 2 components to it. Level 2 right, level 2 left. Level 10 has 4 components to it. Level 12 has 2 components to it. Each level of energy that's utilized with each level does a very specific thing of how it impacts a human being, again, physically, mentally, and spiritually. So for example, when we do level 1 on you as a patient, and when we first did it, level 1's energy affects the meningeal coverings over the brain and the spinal cord. And the meningeal coverings are like a tape recorder. And the meninges expand and contract as we breathe in and out. So the meningeal system expands, extends, flexes, expands, flexes. And the meninges have attachments or anchors in the canals of your neck and attached to the different areas of the skull. So the brain sits inside, the meninges are over it. So through your spine, right, it's like a bed sheet, but then it anchors itself to the pelvis, your sacrum, and your coccyx, which is your tailbone. So again, as we just normally breathe, the meningeal system expands, contracts, expands, and contracts. But what can happen is that, as I mentioned, it's like a tape recorder. So when we have stress responses from life, chemical, mental, spiritual, physical, traumas, and other things, that gets recorded in your meningeal system, like a tape recorder. And that meningeal component of recording can stay with you for your whole life. So what it does is it prevents a human being from truly expressing who they really are as a person. Because when we're in fight or flight response due to stress, we are reacting and expressing someone that's in reaction from things from the past, not who we really are. So on that Monday, when I came into the office and I started doing level 1, for no better terminology, which was an energy that is utilized, very specific, which I'll get into also in a little bit, people started to breathe. Because when we're in fight or flight, we do not breathe. We're in fixation. We're in flexion. So all of a sudden, people started taking these deep breaths. And then what people automatically did is they started laughing out loud for no reason in their mind. Like, why am I laughing so much as you're doing this? I said, just go with it. And then a lot of people started crying on the table. like sobbing from what I was doing on them. And then when they would leave the office to go and get in their car to drive home, they couldn't drive home. They went through this cathartic reaction. Some of them 20 minutes, a half hour, and this occurred over time. So they were having, so level one of the work of natural force healing is all about affecting the meningeal system and releasing a human being in fight or flight response. Also, remember that we are creatures since the caveman of fight or flight. And I always use the analogy, right? Fight or flight, meaning that at the time of the caveman, when the saber-toothed tiger came, right, he either killed it and brought the food home to his family, or he did what? He took off and ran. Same with us. So the varying components of stress responses through life, chemical, mental, environmental, spiritual, and so forth, is all about our nervous systems being able to adapt first to, oh, that's a stress. Can I adapt to the stress? Number one. Number two, can I recover from that stress? And then can I continue to evolve? And many times we can't, or we don't recover because there's another stress response that then occurs again in our life. So that's why in the office or when you're a new patient, I explain about the layers of the onion. So here's the blueprint. I'll get to that in a second. But these layers represent all of the varying stress responses that we don't recover from. And that's why over the years people have asked me, well, how many layers of the onion do I have? I'm not privy to that information. But that's why natural force healing, the other work that we do, is about all peeling the onion away. It's about removing the layers of the onion. So the core blueprint, I'll talk about this in a few minutes, can be expressed so this triune model can again be that. So it's all about that response. That's what we're reacting to. See, when we have a reaction to a stress response and we get plugged in, it's never really what's happening. What's happening in the present moment is reactivating a memory pattern that goes back to a fight or flight response at some point in our life that may have happened 50 years ago. So what happened was I began to use natural force healing, or this level, or for no better word, level one, for a long time. So it's until I mastered the ability of it, right? And then all of a sudden, information was about the next level of the work, or level two. So I'll get into the levels more. So I want you to understand that. So natural force healing, also when you see Kristen and I in the office utilizing our hand positions in certain ways, our hands become, you could call it like a rheostat. So each particular level is a specific energy, vibration, and frequency, which is really, it's a spiritual energy under our Creator. So what we're doing is a way in which the problem also in energy healers today and all the years, because I've seen it all since I've been doing it for 50 years, that a lot of the so-called energy healers they don't know where the energy comes from, because they may be accessing energy that's not positive, and that affects them negatively, the individual that's doing the work. So our hand positions is all too about when you use universal energy, you have to be able to use the energy. It's kind of like me sending this signal out to you guys. I have to have a way to amplify that energy so that when I utilize it, or I send a radio signal from here to California, I have to be able to hear it. So these energies that we've studied extensively over decades they don't originate necessarily in our realm of reality. They're universal energies that come through on what's called ribbons of light, which are superhighways. Superhighways, so each spiritual energy has its own color ribbon that it comes forth on, like a highway. Each spiritual energy also has its own frequency and vibration of how it's also utilized on a human being. So each of the levels of natural force healing is a specific energy that is a specific energy, vibration, and frequency that has a particular purpose in how it's utilized. And a way in which we have to hold our hands, which our hand position is really the harmonic. It's the amplifier of the energy. That's what we're doing when you see us. So when you see us asking you to fly, right, and we put our hands on your back, or we're holding your skull, or we're on your belly, these are all hand positions that's calling forth a particular energy, very specifically, and when it's done. Also, you know what? Why don't I stop there and see if there's any questions before I move on? I know I'm going pretty fast, but I want to cover a lot. Everybody okay so far?
I'll take the liberty to stop you, Dr. Ken. It's Nevenka. I'll put you can see me now? Hi. Is there any chance you can relate these things to so-called genetically inherited issues? For instance,
are there genetically related patterns in the work, you mean, that are dealt with?
Yeah. Thank you.
That is more, yes, there is also see, natural force healing has a phase 1 component to it, and there's also a phase 2. See, all of natural force healing is advanced work, but there's what's called phase 2 natural force healing, and those are other energies and procedures in the work that deal with things like ancestral components, and other elements of what you're asking about. Yes, absolutely. And there's ways to clear that out. But yeah, great question. Any other question? Okay, I'll keep going. Also, as natural force, see, it was kind of like, me, again, I'm very impatient as it comes to material, because I'm ready usually for the next material. Like, give me more. So I had to, but you could say that the powers that be would not give me additional material on the work until I mastered what I was presently doing. So I had to work and understand the depth of, let's say, that phase 1 of meningeal clearing until I really mastered it. And also I find a tendency with many people who are learning a system 1 immediately, they don't, it takes a long time to play a concerto on a piano. And a lot of people learn something and then they want to go on to the next thing without really mastering what it is that they're doing. And there's still an element of all the years and thousands of people or treatments, but sometimes I feel I still don't know enough about it. And that's why I'm always trying to continue to study it. So, also, when you hear us, Kristen and I in the office, testing you and saying level 2, level 3, level 8, level 11, there are specific levels of the work that relate specifically to the physical side of the triangle. So when we test you and you're in the body angle of the triangle, sorry. Physical, there are levels of the work that relate to just the physical side. Levels 1, 2, 3, and 4 relate to the physical. And these hand positions, when we have you touch, right? So a lot of you know that this point we'll test, that's the mind angle. That's the spiritual angle. This is the physical angle. So that when you see us test points here, 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 those are all hand screening points. to determine which level is needed or called for by you, meaning your being, you as a spiritual being. So if that level is not indicated, it doesn't show up. So levels 1 to 4 relate to the body angle. Levels 2, 6 through 12 relate to the spiritual angle. And levels 3 to 6 relate to the mind angle. So if you're in the mind angle, right, we test these different circuits to see which is being called for to use. And again, each one is very specific in what it's doing. The other thing, too, that we've been able to correlate with the work is the relationship of, I just want to mention the structural relationship, meaning that we've been able to figure out, so when we test you and you're in the physical side of the triangle, or the mental side or the spiritual side, that also, remember, one angle of a triangle, when it's imbalanced, affects all the angles of the triangle. That's important to know. So when we find that, let's say you're in the mind angle of a triangle, that's going to impact certain areas of your structure. So the mind angle will impact levels of your spine and your neck, the base of your skull, and your low back. So I won't get into the depth of that, but to understand it's a very specific system of what's being impacted by that primary angle of distortion of body, mind, or spirit. So, and that's what we test a lot, but getting back to the energies. So, also what you're feeling many times that, see, the thing about the work also is that many of these other energetic vibrational systems utilize the own practitioner's energy. And a lot of them can only see 2 people a day and then they're exhausted. Or over the years, a lot of people that are so-called energy healers, they don't do it for very long or they get sick. So in natural force healing, again, we are really more of the conduit to be able to allow the energy to be amplified, but it comes through us, but we don't take it on. It doesn't come from our own body, the energy in which we're utilizing. That's important to understand. So, Kristen, you think I should explain the levels a little bit more?
Sure.
Okay, so level 1, I explained that.
I mean, just briefly.
The thing that's so elegant about the work is, remember, it says transformation of consciousness for our evolution. So every element of the levels of the work address a particular component in a human being that is important for their growth and awareness and balance and so for example, I mentioned that level 1 deals with the meningeal system of fight or flight, holding us in a pattern of reactivity to something. Level 2, all of the work also deals with the meningeal system, but deals with karmic related issues. So if we find level 2 and it's on the left side, or what we call level 2 left, that deals with memory being held in the meninges from anywhere from your conception to right now. So you're in a reactive pattern to something that may have happened at 4 years old that's held in your meningeal system. If it's level 2 on the right, you're dealing with a karmic past life related issue or a spiritual based, and many people have it. And over the years, a lot of people have come in, they were all over the place, they never get better because they have a karmic related illness. And until you clear that, they're not going to get better. People that were all over, been to 85,000 different people. So level 1 and 2 deals with meningeal related issues. Level 2 specifically karmically related, present life and past life. Level 3, when we have you break through the wall, so to speak, the wall really represents fixed ideas, mental blocks that a person still has, or limiting belief patterns. So level 3, which is still reactive in that person from way back, that they're unable to move through. Level 4 of the work deals with what's called a tabloid image. The tabloid image is the perfect blueprint in a human being. The tabloid image is an 8-sided octahedron-shaped crystalline structure like a pyramid, 4 sides in the front, 4 sides in the back. And the tabloid image contains the perfect blueprint of us physically, mentally, and spiritually. So the angles of this tabloid image become imbalanced. We can come forth with it, or certain traumas through life can affect it, or at present time. So when the tabloid image becomes imbalanced, it has a direct effect on affecting body, mind, and spirit in a human being. So a lot of times when you see us holding our hands down by your navel and we have you look at your belly button as we're doing that, or talk to the mind and tell it what we want healed, the physical side is a reflex area at the navel as we're doing that, and there's 4 basic energies that we're utilizing to correct this triangle and bring forth the blueprint of perfection of body, mind, and spirit. Level 5,
Ken?
Yeah.
That's what the self-healing technique as well. Core 4, the self-healing technique.
Yeah, I was going to get into that in a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, what Chris is saying, Core 4 can be used as a self-healing technique, which I'll mention in a minute. Level 5 is when we're contacting your skull. Level 5 deals with balancing the 2 hemispheres of your brain, because one becomes disrupted and overtakes the other side. And when you have level 5, there's no energy in your core. See, all the energy stuck up in your head. So people develop colon, pelvic floor, lower back. I'm just saying physical, because there's no energy down there anymore because it's all up here. So when we do level 5 on you, we're balancing the hemispheres of your brain, your cranium, and all the different energy centers of your body. Level 6 is when we have you put your wings on and fly. And what level 6 represents is, see, when we're in the mind component too much, either worrying about what the freaking future is going to be or reacting, we don't breathe. So our self as a spiritual being cannot expand to its fullest potential, because that's what we are. We are immortal spiritual beings having a physical presence on this planet, not a physical being trying to have a spiritual experience. But our self as a spiritual being needs a physical body to express itself through, and other subtle bodies that relate to our mind, our thoughts and emotions. So level 6 creates expansion of our spirit to its fullest potential. Level 7 of the work opens up the pineal gland and allows us to turn our attention more inward to knowledge and wisdom and spiritual growth. Also, when the pineal gland is shut down, see, the pineal gland adjusts itself to light. So that's why when you have a disruption in the pineal gland, that's why, and it's turned off, there's receptors on your eyelids that are like a light switch, so that when you're in darkness, it still stays turned on. So when you have a pineal problem, it affects all the other endocrine glands of your body, which is one of the reasons why people have seasonal light disorder. So when the seasons change, see, now people start to feel better as it becomes more light out. But when there's daylight savings time, when it gets darker, a lot of people have imbalances because the pineal gland gets shut off. Also, when you have a pineal problem, what happens is that, and the glands are being affected, you could sleep for 8 hours, get up in the morning and feel like you haven't slept or you're fatigued until you get into light. So, but level 7 is all about opening up the pineal gland. Level 8 of the work is about, is when we ask you to visualize having those chains and shackles around your body. And what they really represent is certain patterns. See, also inherent in us as spiritual immortal beings are abilities and see, all of the commandments, all the laws, all the principles, the depth of who you really are, things that you couldn't even imagine, and an inner knowing of of all those commandments, but there are certain factors that can affect us in life so that we are not in touch with that element of ourself. But when level 8 comes up, level 8 not only peels those shackles that develop from more spiritual related things around parts of our body, a person begins to feel like it's kind of like hanging out with certain groups of people and or friends and say, you know what, these people don't do anything for me anymore in my life. I ain't hanging out with them anymore. And then all of a sudden we gravitate towards more like-minded individuals that are helping us expanding to grow. Level 9 works more with what we call the etheric brain and the 3 subtle bodies that each of us has. And when we do level 9, it creates greater awareness, almost like our psychic ability becomes stronger to be able to know and to feel and to have greater clarity of mind, you could say. Spend a little bit more time. I don't want to run out of. Okay, we have 20 minutes to go, so pretty good. Let me just open it up to any questions right at the moment again. Any questions? How am I doing?
You're good, Doc. You're good.
All right, let me finish the levels, because this will be recorded and you can go back and understand the levels anytime you want. Level 10 has 4 components to it. Level 10-1. See, as we're growing, it's very difficult because we have a physical body. A lot of people want to grow. I remember, people would ask me all the time, Dr. Davis, can you teach me how to leave my body? Well, the only way you could do that is you have to become aware of something different. How could you leave your body if you're not even aware driving down the street that there's you have to become conscious enough. Also, the physical body is very heavy and dense. So you have to be able to separate yourself from the physical so that you can utilize one of our subtle bodies and move. The point I'm making is that 10-1 helps to take you more from being heavy in the physical, dense realm of your physical body to be able to be exposed and open to more subtle levels of energies and really subtle bodies that each of us has. Level 10-2 deals with awakening the Kundalini fire in your sacrum to allow it to expand through the energy centers, or what people call the chakras, and then opens the door to remove all of we store all of our emotions and blocked energy in our solar plexus, and which affects us lymphatically in our organs, our colon, and our pelvic floor, and the uterus, and other glands of our body. So and there's no fire, you could say, in the belly. So what level 10-2 does, it opens all of that up. It takes all of the things that we've stored in our solar plexus, which is also the seat of our subconscious, and opens the door to allow that to clear out, and awakens that fire in the sacrum, the Kundalini, to expand to the proper area to help our growth mentally, physically, and spiritually. 10-3 is a technique where we're around and supporting your skull to be able to see, we have, again, a physical brain and skull, but we have an etheric brain as well. So when we do level 10-3, we're creating more opening for the etheric brain, which is heightened in your ability to have awareness, growth, clarity, sensitivity, awareness, kind of like what I was explaining on the other level. 10-4, level 10-4 is what allows you to, it's like having your television, your TV station come and connect you to a higher channel. 10-4 is what allows you to trust that inner voice in you. The voice that knows. That's why in the book I wrote, Climbing Mountains, I have a chapter called The Meatball Story. I tell people this all the time. And what I was trying to get across is that when you're hungry or famished and you go into a deli and a voice says, I think I'm going to have a meatball sandwich or a pastrami sandwich, you trust that voice and you have the sandwich. And the worst thing that could happen is you get agita from it. But the point I'm making is that that voice is your voice of you could call it your higher self. And that higher self of you is there, but we don't trust it. So that voice that tells you to have a roast beef sandwich or pastrami sandwich or meatballs, the same voice that says, leave that person, move to California, sell your practice, open your business over here, trust this, do this, and whatever, which is very difficult for most people to do.
Yeah.
So level 10-4 opens the door to do that.
10-4 opens the door. Send it.
Ken, I think you got muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
That was weird. I didn't do anything.
It's okay.
Sorry about that. I'm on level 11. I said the level 11 primarily are two energies that bring all of the lifetimes in which you've lived forward so that you can clearly see the world and others without judgment. So when we use that energy on you, you become the light in the world. Kind of like walking into a room, right? If you walk into a room, you see the Dalai Lama there, he doesn't even have to say anything, does he? He just resonates a certain frequency. That's what happens with you. People want to know what you have that they don't have, but they want. And that could be clarity, calmness, and whatever. The very powerful level of the work. 12-1 and 12-2 primarily. 12-1 is what kind of allows you to really become whole, body, mind, and spirit when we do that level. It's like all the work prior to that is leading to that total balance of you, body, mind, and spirit. Level 12-2 has two components of it. Level 12-2 is utilized many times because there's a lot of human beings on the planet that do not feel comfortable living in a physical body. It's like you buy an Armani dress, it costs $8,000, you never feel comfortable in it. Your suit never fits, never feels right. It doesn't feel good being in a physical body. You'd rather be flying around. But we need a physical body in this realm of reality to exist. So what level 12 does is it allows you to be able to feel grounded enough and feel great in this physical body that's been given to us so that you can grow and evolve. Level 12-1 brings again, it's about alignment of everything that's been done to create integration of you physically, mentally, and spiritually. So every level of the work is very, very specific as to what it does and the energy in which it's utilized to do, and will not see, this is the other thing. When Kristen and I walk into the room with you, or we're taking care, we don't say, well, I think I'm going to do this level on you. It doesn't work that way. So again, the hand positions or the asking of is only what's going to be revealed when you're ready for that to be revealed. In the process of the removal of the layers of the onion, your process of growth and where you're going. So that's why, people ask me, see, the process of growth and transformation is not a 3-month period. It happens from the day you're born to the day you leave the planet. People would ask us, well, how long is for the rest of your life? But the point is, the process of, there's a lot of people over the years that get to the point, especially in what we do, that realize what the work is really all about. It's about getting to the point of self-realization, realizing I know who I really am. See, and this is what I teach doctors, and is that I don't care what you do, but be the best at what you do. But what you do on a patient should turn their attention inward from their pain and suffering out there, inward to come to the realization, not as an idea, but as an expression, this is who I really am. I'm an immortal spiritual being, that I'm not just a mind and a body, I'm essence. I'm spirit living in a physical to learn and grow and learn the lessons in which I'm here. Also, remember that karma is not, there's a lot of misconceptions about what karma really is in the West. Karma is not a punishment. There is really no negative karma, and karma is about learning the appropriate lesson and being placed in an appropriate classroom to learn the lesson in which you're here to learn. And that's really what it's about. So that as we continue the cycle of birth and death, once we've completed the cycles of karma, we have the ability to choose whether or not we want to come back, not as a punishment, to be able to assist humanity in their growth and transformation. That's really what karma is all about. So, natural force healing is a very, very powerful process. And as I said at the beginning, it's really a core foundation of what we do in the work. And maybe we'll have another one on the, at some point we'll do the self-healing, or we'll do the self.
You can start that now. You can do some of it.
Well, we only have 9 minutes.
Well, I think you should.
All right,
do
so
at
why don't we
least
teach
core
core 4?
Yeah.
That would be a powerful one, but probably the easiest one to fix. So with that being said,
Just remind everybody, core 4 is level 4 of the work.
core 4 is level 4.
While you are thinking what you're going to say ahead, may I just ask a quick question? People who go through this process, do they actually physically show up in your office? Or
The people come in to get the work done on them?
correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we also do remote as well, is what.
Yeah, I mean, it can be done we do with a lot of distance stuff also. Actually, I have to say that over all the decades of sometimes the distant component is more powerful than the person in the office. You know why? Because their mind is in the way in the office all the time. So no, yes, they come in the office, but we also work at a distance as well.
And you don't mean only United States, you mean across the border in Canada as well?
Everywhere.
I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
Not
question.
just in the U.S. He works across internationally.
Yeah, all over the world. I have people that call me from Europe to work on them. I have a couple right now that were patients of ours that moved to Spain. Actually, I was on the phone with them this morning, with the husband, working at a distance on him. So yeah, it doesn't matter where you are, because the energy still can, it still can, but yeah, all over the United States and also all, over the world. So they don't necessarily have to physically be in the office to get the treatment. Especially, and again, Kristen knows too, that we did a lot of distance, we'll call it distance healing work when COVID happened. A lot of people, and they did great. They did really well. And we kept records on each treatment, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's very specific too, so good question. Any other questions? Okay, core 4. Also, another name for core 4, you can make a note, we'll talk. There are 4 core energies that make up a human being. One of them is called core quadrant level of being. And that's what level 4 deals with. Core quadrant level of being. So remember, core 4 is dealing with the perfect blueprint. Within each and every one of us has this blueprint that can be accessed by what we do, but also by yourself. There are 4 energies that work with the tabloid image, that 8-sided octahedron-shaped crystalline structure. So that when we show you where you're going to put your hands, you are accessing these 4 core energies that come into your hands amplified at full power to do their work. And what they do is they go into the tabloid image to bring out the blueprint of that element of your being, physically, mentally, and spiritually. So here's what you do. First of all, and this will be on the tape, but you can write this down. The access point, when I teach you to the physical side of you, will be you focusing on your navel. So the navel, belly button, is the physical angle. The third eye is the mental side of the triangle, the mind angle. The heart center is the spiritual angle. So the navel's the body, third eye's the mind, heart area, spirit. Your hand position that you're going to use to call the energies in are this. You're going to make not a triangle, but like a diamond, and your fingers are open. And your hand placement, and you can do this sitting up, you can do it lying down. So your hand, I'm just going to stand up and show you. That's how your hands look. Okay? So I can do this sitting, I can do it lying. Fingers are open.
So the opening in your palms is over your belly button. Between your thumbs and your index fingers is over your belly button, correct?
Yes. Now, so as soon as you put your hands there are 4 energies that come into your hands amplified. Here's their names. Number 1, Ebner, E-B-N-E-R, Kuznantic. 2, Ephlon Chad. 3, Ignite Mator. And 4, Purist Hatter. That's their names. Those 4 energies. And they work in a group. So as soon as you put your hands in that position, those energies are there, amplified at full power. So when you put your fingers or back to the navel, accessing the physical you, what I normally, and a lot of you as patients know, I'll have you think or ask in your mind, like talk to the mind or consciousness and tell it what you want healed in your physical body. So let's say you wake up tomorrow morning and your neck is stiff. Do your core 4 technique, put your focus here, and ask for this to be cleared. I ask for full range of motion. I ask for the spasm on my neck to be cleared. Whatever. There's no rules or formulas. It's whatever you want. Now, if you want to clear, so as you keep your hands there, same energies are there. If you want to deal with the mental, emotional side, you focus there. Your hand position stays the same. I ask that I stop worrying about the future. I ask that this pattern I can't get rid of from 20 years ago be cleared. There's no rules or formula. Whatever you ask for what you want. And then the last is your hand position stays the same. You work on the spiritual side of you. I ask to be able to forgive or let go of the past. I ask that I can love my mommy again. I ask that, whatever. I ask to hear the voice. I ask to trust myself more. Whatever that is for you. Now, also, when you do this on yourself, there's no time limit. I recommend you do it before you go to bed at night. You can do it in the morning as soon as you get up. If you have time in the afternoon and you want to do with it, you can do it whenever you want. And you'll know, and just trust you'll know when you're done. And what will happen is your hands will get hot many times and you'll feel the energy move through your body. It's a very powerful process. That's core 4 technique. Any questions on that? Some amazing things that happened. I remember years ago, I taught a lot of, it just so happened, there was a period of time there was a lot of women that were having babies. And they all developed corns on their feet for some reason. They were developed. So I had them ask that they all fell off their feet from doing the technique. So, any other questions? Comments? Aha moments? Out of body experiences? Yes, my dear.
I should know the answer to this, but do you move from level to level back and forth, or are you mainly going in consecutive order? Because
It's not in the consecutive order components, only in no, we don't move back and forth between levels, but we go only in the order, so to speak, relating to whether it's body, mind, and spirit. Because, for example, so let's say when you come into the office and you're in a spiritual angle, so we know that we're going to test for levels 2, 6 through 12. You know what I mean? So, no, don't have 2, don't have 6, she has level 8, she needs level 10 too. Boom, done. And that's what we do. You know, does that help you?
Also, it's dependent upon the layer you're in. Like it's different a lot of times. It just depends upon what your body's showing.
are kind of moving around from level.
Yeah, also you can, a lot of people, that's a good question. A lot of patients ask also, because remember that you could be a level 3, let's say you're in the mind angle and you have a level 3 breaking through the wall, right? And then you come in 4 days later or next week and you have a level 3 again and you're in the mind. But you have to understand that level of you may have that same level again, but you're not dealing with this, as Kristen said, the same layer of the onion. It's another layer that's altered the mind from another period of time that needs still that particular technique. Also, remember that, it's a good question, Karen, that one of the things, too, that you'll hear me do a bunch of times is to be able to, which is also, we find very helpful for the patient to understand where they are in the process of their care. So when they come in, remember that we always like it when it's a new layer that's being revealed. But sometimes what we say, there can be that the individual is kind of like stuck and blocked and they're not moving forward in their life. So that the treatment that particular day or what's being revealed is more it's like getting the tire that's stuck in the snow out of the snow and getting it moving. So, they're stuck and blocked, you're not moving forward in life. So that session or that treatment is specifically unstucking them to move them out and get them going. Or the third component is, you've heard me say, sometimes it's a thick layer of the onion. So it could be 6 visits just to remove this one thick layer that also can have components. See, one very thick layer of the onion can have components of body, mind, and spirit in this one thick layer of the onion. You follow what I mean? But when you remove that layer never comes back again. Never. But that's why our job, as you know, is to kind of help patients and people not to create new layers of their onion or of an onion due to the other factors that go on in their life. So that's kind of how it works.
Sometimes, some of them that work specifically with the nervous system, that, if somebody's really gets physically durally tight, like that's something that comes up a lot and that we see often, that we have to do the levels that pertain to that can happen. Or yeah, we do it we see it a lot.
Yeah.
Or
We
with,
see the relationship of what's being called for.
yeah.
Like, oh yeah, that makes sense because that's what's going on with them. So it's kind of right there, the innate wisdom, the spirit of the person who's revealing, right? See, the thing that's beautiful about the work, I didn't mention this, that, see, when we walk into a room and we test you, we're testing you not, even though it's a cumulative process, right here, right now, today, this is what I am right here, right now. I'm either body, I'm either mind, or I'm either spirit. And that's why I feel that it's the most, those reflexes that we check just for that, I feel are the greatest reflexes that were ever, because, and that's why I always go back, especially when when people having very difficult problems or whatever, it still always goes back to the foundation of what it really is. It's either physical as a cause, it's either mental, emotional, or it's either spiritual. That's really, and that's the problem that I tell people is that you cannot treat you have to treat the person, not the condition, because you can have 1,000 people that have lung issues, and 300 of it come from the mind angle, 400 come from the spirit angle, and the rest come from the physical angle. And unless you have a testing system to be able to, that's why everybody gets treated the same. And it's even happening in the alternative world. Everybody's treating everybody the same, like cookie cutter. And that's not what's happening, because that's not necessarily where the underlying cause of humanity's ills and breakdown come from that triune of well-being, a body, mind, or spirit. And that's what I found to be, over the last, again, 40 years. It all comes from there. And there's no other system that evaluates the spiritual component of the triangle in the way in which we do, and have done all these years. People are testing the chemistry component, the mind component, but no one has a way to test the spiritual angle. And then what to do with it after that. So, the work addresses the leak. That's why I say, remember, one angle affects them all. Distort one, they all become affected. But the point is, that's why I use the analogy of a leak. You got to fix a leak in the ceiling because it's going to keep messing up the desk. Fix the desk, but you better fix the leak. So the work addresses the primary component and peels the onion, peels the onion, peels the onion. And that's what, and that's what it's about. What are you looking at, the dog? Yeah, that's my companion. Are you
He was
smiling, buddy?
roaching before.
He's what? It was
He
what?
was roaching before. He was
Oh,
on his back.
it's my greyhound.
Hmm.
He's a good boy. So that's what's happening.
Well, that was interesting.
We love it. We've been doing it a long time. But see, that's why it culminated with all the other stuff that we do, to integrate that with nutritional piece of the puzzle, the visceral work that we do, the cranial, it all integrates very well together, and all the elements of it, of the combination of all the different things that we do. But again, getting back, I know I don't want to be redundant, but the foundation of what we do always goes back to the triangle. And then I guess you could say if I get stuck and I don't, then I go back, I have to trace it out. Well, let me go back to the basics. Is this underlying difficult thing that's not getting, is it physical, is it mind, or is it spirit? And then we go from there. So.
Okay.
Okie
Thank
dokie
you.
smokies. Thank you.
See you soon.
So the next, hang on, don't leave. The next talk is in 2 weeks. I believe Miss Donches does that one. That's on. Is that on the hormonal piece, Kristen?
Hormone.
Yeah,
Specifically
Kristen.
geared towards the women, but we can throw some stuff in for the guys. But
Kristen will do the hormonal.
yeah.
Plus, we have a new one added in May that'll be all about We added one on, which will be all about understanding the new thing with peptides. But you'll have plenty. So we're trying to really
Yeah.
get people to understand what's going on out there. So, but thank you guys for being on. We really appreciate it.
And I'll have
Thank you.
everything up in the, I think we'll put it in the YouTube channel, Doc,
Okay.
for you. Okay?
Well, you know how to do that better than I do.
We're aware.
But she does.
We're aware.
Okay.
We're aware. We're aware. That's the word, Sharon. That's the one you would
We're
have.
aware.
We're aware. That's it. Sure thing, Ken.
Yep.
Have a nice evening.
You
You
too.
guys too.
Thank you again.
Yep.
Bye.
Thanks, Karen.
Bye.
Thank you.